Back to the studio. I mean, yeah, this is a very hot discussion we're having with Vivi. So, still with us, Vivi, thank you so much for being here. So, we want to create a safe environment and also to empower people as well, especially in the public spaces that can minimize the opportunities for sexual harassment. How can we do that? Because it takes a village to do that.
Oh my God. I think there should be a lot of layers when it comes to that. I think first, you have to educate yourself, right? Like educate ourselves first in terms of what consent, what is defined as sexual harassment, what are the types, and also like I think in terms of, for me, the most important part is actually to understand what is sexual harassment, what are actually consent, and also in terms of how we can respond better when we encounter someone who experienced sexual harassment. And I think that's also what we do as Demand itself, is to give this kind of education, right? We do this training called bystander intervention method training. Now we call it Bantu. It used to be 5D. So Bantu is just like the abbreviations of first the methodology that we use for people to learn how to be a hero in a sense, right? You have the power for you to actually help someone. So you can be a superhero to do that.
There's actually a question, it's a follow-up question from that question. So what happens in the online world? I mean, we know that, recently the Senate was asked, questioning Zuckerberg and asking him to actually say sorry to the parents of the kids who got that harassment sexually as well on the online world, on social media. How do you think we can actually put, education or even awareness to these kids?
Oh, I mean, things that happen on social media, it's wild. Like things that unimaginable. But I think first, again, layers of education, right? And I think like when it comes to online, most of the people will kind of put the responsibility to the user without actually asking for accountability of the platform itself. Like for example, we have so many incidents where, I don't know, like we call it NCII right now, the non-consensual image distribution. People used to call it revenge porn, and I don't like that term. There's another long discussions about why I don't like that term, but like that kind of stuff, like I think when it comes to policing the user itself, policing as someone who quote unquote targeted, it somehow kind of limit our expressions as well, right? So I think like that's why it's important for us to be able to see where the accountability should happen. Like education should start from very, very, very early, and I think you will talk about this community, Lentera Sintas Indonesia, who actually also do trainings in schools. So like that kind of stuff is also needs to happen like very early as possible.
As early as possible.
I think it's best for us parents to not let our children use social media in such a young age. I mean, wait for them to be fully mature and then go ahead. But under 18, I don't think they're ready, right?
But I think that's also like that. What happened in most platforms, they have that kind of like
age limitation,
right?
Exactly. But as parents, I think we have the power to do that.
I think the accountability still should be on the hand of the platform itself, because again, they are the one who are able to control who can come in and who can get out, right?
Now, speaking about sexual harassment, some situations need to be reported to the police, right? But sometimes the victim is clueless as to what kind of proof should they have in order for them to be able to report that incident to the police. Can you enlighten us about this?
So with the old law, with the old law, like before we had this new anti-sexual violence bills, or we call it Undang-Undang Tindak Pidana Kekerasan Seksual, the chances of victims to be able to quote unquote prove their situation is very, very slim. And only like the definitions of sexual harassment itself is also very limited. It's only rape and molestation. And when it comes to rape, it's like you need like a physical proof that there is a penetration between penis and vagina. So if you are not raped by a penis and you don't have a penis, penetration did not happen in the vagina, it will not be categorized as rape. And you need to have like a sign that you are actually fighting back. So what happened when you are actually do not have the power,
You
or for example,
froze.
like you froze,
Or trauma.
or you were being drugged, for example. Like there's
drugged.
no,
Oh, bad.
like there's no sign of like you're fighting back.
Yep,
You know, like
yep.
for example, like the rape itself happened in a domestic settings, like when you couldn't actually do anything, you were in such control that you would not be able to verbally say no. Even if you already say no, they still do it.
Do it anyway.
Right? So like that's what happened. So within the new law, which is the Undang-Undang TPKS in short, the definitions of sexual harassment itself is being much broader than it was
Okay, that's
before.
good.
So it kind of it's adding to the old law itself. So even like the technology facilitated harassment is within the Undang-Undang TPKS. So when it comes to prove itself or your story, like you testify, it can be considered as a proof, like as a way, right? So because before, when we talk about reporting to the police, like you need to have proof in order for them to take your story seriously.
So the chances are
but
very
now
slim.
because of this law, whether you have physical or non-physical proof, as long as you report it, the law enforcement need to take your report very seriously
And investigate
and
further.
investigate that further. Because before, like you come and like, where is the proof?
Yep.
What do you know the
Exactly.
perpetrator? Do you know their address?
Of course, no.
And because of that, the victims
Yeah.
remain silent.
Exactly. Okay, so before we resume our conversation with Fifi, we would like to share some information with you. Besides Demand, there are organizations or communities dedicated to combating sexual harassment. One such organization is the National Commission on Violence Against Women, also known as Komnas Perempuan. Let's explore more about it.
The National Commission on Violence Against Women is an independent institution that enforces Indonesian women's human rights. Its priority is to handle issues related to women, including providing protection to women who become victims of sexual violence, including cyber-based violence within the context of family and educational institutions. The Commission is also involved in policy formulation related to women. And the last organization to mention is the Association of Indonesian Women for Justice, also known as Asosiasi Perempuan Indonesia untuk Keadilan, or shortened as APIK. Currently, there are 18 active APIK offices providing assistance and legal aid to women who have experienced injustice, violence, and various forms of discrimination.
APIC is a group of lawyers, advocates, and women's rights defenders who are ready to help women who face harassment or violations, whether it's verbal, physical, or online. The organization's main objective is to advocate for legal reforms that would eradicate discrimination and violence against women. They also provide support and legal defense for victims of human rights violations and other crimes against humanity.
We certainly learned a lot today,
We do.
and we know what to do should anything bad happen to us. Again, knock on wood.
Knock on wood, nothing would happen, especially in the work area and other public spaces. Thank you so much. So, how do we reach you out? I mean,
We have Instagram, of course. It's at Di Jalan Aman, or one of the other. Actually, Di Jalan Aman is now under like under a bigger organization. It's called Jakarta Feminists. So you can reach us out like within those two, and we actually have this website that is filled with more than 100 service providers across Indonesia that actually help victims or survivors or friends of victims, family of victims or survivors to find help, which includes those 18 LBH APIK. It's called carilayanan.com. So if you, at some point, just put it in the back pocket, right? Like if somebody needed, just tell them you need help, go to carilayanan.com. It's very easy to use. It's a website, it's not an app, so you can just use it.
let's do it together.
Wherever
guys.
you want.
Everyone has to be in it. All right, thank you so much, Fifi, for coming
Thank
here.
you. Thank you so
and
much for
enlightening
having
us with a lot of things here about sexual harassment. So, we'll still be back with your daily dose of entertainment in the last segment of the show, so you don't want to miss that.